the original Yappy Hour. I am your host, Meredith Mills Merritt. Today, I have with me a longtime friend, Emma Wesel. Emma is a marketing leader specializing in creator partnerships, affiliate, and PR strategy. At Versed, she rebuilt the influencer program with a performance-driven, data-backed approach, driving a 48% increase in revenue. She's known for scaling creator-led growth engines, aligning cross-functional teams, and directly tying marketing initiatives to measurable business impact. Emma and I have known each other since we were 18. We met our freshman year of college, so the fact that it has been 13 years is absolutely insane. I'm excited for this one because Emma sits at the intersection of what brands say is working and what's actually driving progress, success, revenue, which are often two very different things. So after all of that, Emma, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. It's so good to see you.
Of course. So are you ready to get started with our beverage of the week?
Let's do it.
Emma, what are we drinking?
We are having Negronis, my absolute favorite.
I love that you chose this because, to full transparency, I had to make this in my kitchen twice. So mine is a very different color than Emma's, but that's fine. So Emma, cheers.
Cheers.
So why are we drinking this? Tell us about this. Is this your kind of go-to? Is this a coping mechanism? Is it a comfort choice? Like, talk to us about this Negroni.
Okay, good question. I first got into Negronis probably 3.5 or 4 years ago now. I historically did not love gin, especially due to one of our good friends in college. But over the years in adulthood, I have begun to really love it. And the Negroni was truly like my first drink that I had with gin as an adult that I fell in love with. I feel like they are just sophisticated. I feel like they're really good for every occasion. So yeah, we are drinking a lovely Negroni. Full transparency, I actually don't know if I know how to make a Negroni. I made my fiance make this for me. He is the Negroni expert. So I started liking them, honestly, probably like 3 or 4 months before we met. And yeah, ever since then, it's been one of my favorite drinks.
Get you a man that knows how to make a Negroni. That's truly we love. For those of you listening, this friend that we had in college may or may not have really had an affinity for Bombay Sapphire and with no mixers. So I think we can all understand why Emma and I are a little bit polarized by gin, but you mentioned that you kind of started to like this a few years ago. When did you really pinpoint this as your go-to drink? And is there a place, since you live in New York right now, where's your favorite place to get a Negroni in New York?
Ooh, so my fiance and our friends, we actually did a Negroni tour. We made a Negroni tour around our neighborhood probably like 2 years ago, which is very dangerous, honestly. By the end, we were like, okay, we have to all share these Negronis. We can't each be getting a Negroni and these like 4 spots or 5 spots.
Right.
But we would rate them on everything from presentation, like is there a pretty orange slice in it? Is there a nice cube? What glass does it come in? So our number 1 spot is a cocktail bar called Bar Americano. It is in Greenpoint and it has just amazing Negronis. They've got a good orange slice, like the gin. I don't know what kind of gin they use actually, but they're just delicious. They never miss. They also have really good appetizers, which does not hurt. So always
Huge.
love going there, getting some oysters, maybe a little Caesar salad. But that is one of my favorite spots for a Negroni.
Okay, well, next time I'm in New York, I know exactly where
Yes.
we're going. Moving on to part 1, which I call your original story. Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
I honestly sort of fell into influencer marketing. I obviously went to SMU, which is where we met, and I studied journalism with a minor in advertising and always knew I wanted to do something in the marketing world, but didn't really know what. So I had a number of different internships in college trying to really figure out, like, what do I like, what do I not like, what do I want to focus on in my career. And the last internship that I had was at LTK. And so I worked there on their influencer team and really helped to advise creators on how to grow their businesses, what was working, what wasn't working, and really dug into the data on like the back end of creators, which at this time were bloggers. They were truly like the OG bloggers. This is 2017, 2016. I fell in love with it. I loved that it was both data backed, but also really like personal, because there is a person behind all of these different accounts. So I was hired full time at LTK after graduation and worked there for about a year and a half. So that was sort of how I got my start in the influencer world. So much has changed since then. TikTok was not around, Instagram was all flat lays. It wasn't reels, or Instagram stories didn't exist. So there have really been so many iterations, and that's something that I love about creator marketing, is that I think it really keeps you on your toes. It's always changing. There's always new things to learn, new strategies to try, and new creators popping up every day. So it's a really fun industry to work in. And I moved to New York in 2018 for a role at Draper James, where I did general marketing, but helped to build out their creator program because they really didn't have a large influencer presence. And I'm now at Versed Skincare, where I've been for almost 3.5 years, which is really crazy. It's flown by, but it's been a really fun journey.
What was the moment where you realized, oh, I actually fully understand how that works?
Honestly, I feel like I keep having these moments. Like, I don't know that there's like just one. I think one thing that stuck out to me from my internship at LTK is when I was looking at the analytics of a blogger who was doing a ton of fashion content on her site, on her Instagram. Like, she was really always talking about fashion. But when I looked into her back-end analytics, what she was selling the most of was protein powder and workout clothes. And so it was kind of an interesting nuance. And after speaking with her like full-time rep, we decided to give her the guidance to really integrate more of that into her content, because it was what her audience was really responding to. So that was really interesting. And I think on the flip side, like on the brand side, it's really about trying to understand how different creators can work for your brand. And so I feel like I have so many different aha moments from, seeing a creator that has 5,000 followers sell, the same, if not more, product than a creator with hundreds of thousands, or really figuring out what kind of gifting strategy works for this campaign and how are creators resonating with the product. I think it really does change kind of over time, and there have been so many, but those are a couple that stick out to me.
What in your early career or even your life shaped how you think about marketing today?
My dad always says, we got our MBAs at the dinner table, because my parents really always brought my brother and I into conversations around work and what was happening in their daily lives. We just thought it was really interesting, honestly, as kids. And so I think getting that really early exposure to the world of business and different problems that he was facing and kind of how he was tackling them or thinking about them really made me interested. He is like a sales and marketing person at heart. And so that was really what I was exposed to from an early age. And I always loved the thought of figuring out how to get people talking about a product, get people thinking in a new way. And I think it all kind of stems back to that.
Did you always lean more creative, more analytical, or would you say you kind of have a balance of both?
I think I have a balance of both. I feel like I'm a little bit left-brained and a little bit right-brained. I honestly love the creative, and I think there is such a marriage of what creative resonates with people. If it's PR, what stories are resonating with people, what angles, what pitches, but then also having the data to back it up helps to sometimes make your case stronger, and also helps to, advocate for more budget and things like that. So I feel like marketing is kind of that art and science of combining both the creative and the product marketing and messaging with also the data to back it up and kind of the why behind that.
Was there ever a moment where you questioned staying in influencer marketing? You mentioned earlier that you knew you kind of always wanted to do something within marketing and that you fell into this, but once you got in, did you ever think about leaving, or were you like, no, this is what I'm going to do for my whole career?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to make sure that I'm diversifying myself while I am primarily doing influencer marketing. When I got to Draper James, something that really excited me about that role was that it was general marketing. So I was also doing photo shoots. I was doing, the marketing calendar. I was working on just a variety of different things that I hadn't had exposure to before. So it really allowed me to learn it. And that was like one of my big goals for that next role after LTK, which was how can I learn more than just this creator space? And so after that, I went to Village Marketing, which is an influencer agency. So I kind of went back to being like truly specialized in influencer marketing, which was a great experience because I learned so much specifically around the performance element of influencer marketing and just how to use creators to drive revenue for brands and make a meaningful impact. But when I got to Verse, that was something that was a big part of the conversations when I was in the interview process, was that I didn't want to be only influencer. I wanted to make sure I had other areas that I also touched, just because I also want to make sure I'm staying, relevant and like understanding what's changing in those parts of the business. So it is nice that I have that now, but like at the same time, I love influencer marketing and that's really where my passion is. So it's fun to kind of get to marry that with the press and affiliate pieces too.
Amazing. Moving into part 2, money, power, decisions. So what is something people misunderstand about how your job actually works? I feel like from the outside, sometimes influencer and creator marketing can get written off as like vibes, like it's sending product or picking popular or popular adjacent people and hoping that something sticks. But what you've proven at Verse and in your other career backgrounds is that is actually the opposite. It's so structured, it's so performance driven, and it actually ties back to trackable KPIs.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, it really is so fun and exciting when you unlock a creator that can make a substantial difference in your business. And I think there are so many different ways to kind of measure creator impact. It isn't like an even line. And so I think, when everyone looks at influencer marketing and historically especially thinking like, oh, it's not trackable, like that is true to an extent, because say you were to link something, I click on it and then I'm like, okay, this is sold, let's say, at Nordstrom. I'm going to go to Nordstrom next week and purchase it. I don't actually need to buy it through your link if it's more convenient for me to go in store. So it's really hard to kind of pinpoint the exact impact that creators have on a brand or a product, but there are so many ways to at least get close to that understanding and then understand that there are always things that are going to be untrackable. Platforms like LTK and ShopMy, which I love so much, has come on the scene in the last couple of years, make it a lot easier, I would say, for consumers to shop and to get that trackable affiliate revenue. But then on the other side, as a brand that's sold at Target, we're always looking at the halo effect and at the sales trends to really pinpoint back what we're seeing on influencer marketing. So for example, we just launched a new setting powder and we sent out a box with the setting powder with also our best-selling skin tint. And so we're watching very carefully those trends of sales to see, hopefully, how much they rise over time, not just attributed to like direct sales, but also attributed to the halo effect that the marketing is having.
And for those who are listening who are less familiar with the term halo effect, can you share a little bit more there?
Definitely. So if you think about, the full pie of all of your sales, and then you think about what you can directly attribute to someone via their link or a code, you're always going to be missing a bit of it. But the halo effect is really that outside influence and impact that a promotion or marketing campaign can lend to a product. So it's really the lift in sales that you're seeing and that halo from the marketing that's paying off. And oftentimes it's, across multiple products on the brand, because it's that awareness and the word of mouth in the space. It's really causing people to then think and go to shelf and purchase.
What's a decision that you made strategically or professionally that was really difficult at the time but ended up paying off?
I went to Village Marketing, as I mentioned, after my time at Draper James. And that was definitely a risk because I had never worked at an agency before. I didn't really know what to expect. And I also was going into it really being, an influencer marketer at the core of the role. Like there really weren't these other parts of it. I knew that I loved being brand side, and I knew that I had a really great role at Draper James. I had been there for a long time. So it was definitely a hard thing to walk away from, but I was really excited about the idea of just learning and learning more about this industry and kind of what the possibilities were within influencer marketing. And it definitely paid off. I learned so much. I met amazing people and made amazing friends and really just had such great experiences there that I'm so happy that I went to work there, even though it was a bit of a risk at the time.
What do you think, quote unquote, power looks like in the creator economy today? Is it the brand? Is it the creator? Is it the platform? Or do you think it's even a combination of the three?
I think it's a combination of the three. I think platforms hold a lot of power that I think we often kind of forget that they hold, because as we're following people on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, Substack, you're there for their content. You're not there necessarily because of the platform. Like, you don't really think about it. You feel like you have this one-to-one relationship with the creator. But there have been recent TikTok outages. Instagram can change their algorithm on a whim. And all of these things are, I think, really important reminders, actually, that platforms are there, first of all, to make money.
Yeah.
But second of all, it's really up to them. And I do think the platforms hold a lot of power. And I've even experienced when Verse launched makeup last year, it was, I think, a week before that TikTok went down for a day or two because the White House had not reached an agreement yet with them. So that was a very, stressful time for us. We had to quickly figure out, like, how are we going to pivot this launch? What are we going to tell creators? All of that. And then again, about a month ago, there was a TikTok outage right before we launched our lip liners. It's always a reminder that you really don't have any control over the platforms themselves. I think creators hold a lot of power in that they have this incredible relationship with their audiences. The really strong creators have just, magnetic pull over their followers, and their followers will really trust their recommendations, which is something that is so precious and valuable. And I think the best creators understand that and don't take that for granted and really do cultivate that relationship, responding to DMs, but also don't take on partnerships that don't feel in line with their brand that they've created, because they understand how precious that is to keep their followers. And brands do hold power, but I do think their power is a little different. Their power is in selecting creators to work with, figuring out, how much they're comfortable paying them. I think creators and platforms hold more power, I would say, than brands within this industry.
What is something that you think brands think is working in influencer or affiliate marketing, but really isn't?
Oof, there are so many things. I think not cultivating relationships with creators is something that I think brands think that sending product is the equivalent of a relationship with the creator, but
Right.
it's also the follow-ups, the touch points, the sending flowers when someone gets engaged, or taking a creator out to coffee, having those kind of in-person and additional touch points, I think, go a really long way. I also think brands can sometimes be slow to adopt new ways of marketing and new ways of interacting with creators. That's a skill that I think smaller brands and startups really have to their advantage. For example, we joined ShopBuy my first week at Versed over 3 years ago, and the platform has blown up in the last year and a half, and it's such a great way to connect with creators, to gift them, to work with them in a paid capacity, and has really, really meaningfully increased our revenue from creators. But I think larger brands are just now starting to catch on and join the platform because they're seeing the potential, whereas they could potentially have a much more built out creator base on the platform at this point if they had been more of an early adopter.
That's so interesting. And you guys are really lucky that you have the flexibility and you stay really nimble. And to your point, I think what a lot of people don't realize is there is so much more that goes on behind the scenes than just this influencer posting the PR haul and how you got there, and fostering those relationships so that it's mutually beneficial. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. They're making money, you're making money.
Exactly.
And it's when it is a symbiotic relationship, it is a fantastic marketing machine.
Yeah. I also think good product, and I can
Yeah.
take zero credit for that, but good product
Yeah.
really matters. Having products that creators genuinely love really does help to make everything just work so much better.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next section, which I like to call the messy middle, because no matter who you are, what you do, or where you are, there's always some sort of mess that's around us. What is a moment where a campaign or strategy, should have worked on paper, but didn't land the way that you expected? And this can be across any of your past jobs. Something that I remember from my beauty days is when we were launching this product called Flash Foliant, which ended up being a complete and total nightmare. But this was at the very beginning of Dixie D'Amelio's rise to stardom on the TikTok app, like totally deep COVID deep cut here. And we looked at the numbers, we looked at her conversion rate, we looked at her followers. I mean, on TikTok, she was getting like 200,000 followers a week. We were so excited because we'd already signed on with her. So by all means, this was poised to be a massive success for the brand, tons of brand awareness. Everything on paper should have worked out. And I'm not going to call it an astronomical failure, but it was so unlike anything we could have ever expected. Her audience was so receptive to her content. And then the second that she posted anything from us, the views, the likes, the shares just absolutely disappeared. It was so crazy. So I like to share that because I think sometimes even trusting the data, you still aren't 100% guaranteed success.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. So when I first joined Versed, we were gifting at quantities that I had truly never seen before. And we honestly still do. We gift out a lot of product. And I wanted to make sure that it was actually working. And I felt like we might be gifting too many people, and maybe there wasn't actually a correlation between the number of gifts that we were sending out and the revenue. So I designed an A/B test, one which would be a general gifting box sent out to people with our new product, and the other was going to be this experiential gifting, because my thought was, what if we sent less boxes to people, but we made them even more special? We invested more money into this box and we made it a true experience. So we were launching a product called Total Package, which, similar to your story, is no longer being sold. So it might have had something to do with the product too. But I decided to A/B test this. So I sent out boxes with just the product and a brand card to one group, and to the other group I sent out this beautiful designed like picnic basket, because the idea was you can put this on. It was like a body lotion SPF. So the thought was, you can put this on, you can go on a picnic, like here are these beautiful farmers market strawberries and this blanket and all this stuff. And what's so interesting is that we gifted a smaller number of people the experiential basket, a larger number of people the, more basic box. And the more basic box far and away outperformed the experiential gifting. And it was really interesting because it showed me that we also changed the group. So it might not have been a perfect A/B test, but we sent the box out to more micro influencers and mid-tier, whereas the experiential seating, we really targeted those larger creators. And I do think that had something to do with it, because they just have such large followings. They're not always going to post what they're gifted.
Right.
But the micro and mid-tier creators, and this has informed my strategy to this day, are just so much more engaged as a whole cohort with your brand and more excited to post. I find, just because they're up and coming, they're trying to really garner these relationships with brands, make sure that it feels like a two-way street. And so that was really interesting. I definitely expected to find that the higher touch point, more intentional seating would do better than just the box and brand card and product, but I was proven wrong.
It's great to hear that that is still kind of what the dialogue in influencer marketing and the creator economy is. I feel like I have been out of it for so many years. But when you think of it like a pyramid where you have these super, super, super high followers with lower engagement rates, and then as you work down that pyramid, the less followers you have, the higher engagement. It's so interesting because on the one hand, you think it's super intuitive, but then on the other hand, like you said, you truly never know, which is a good transition into the next question, which is, are there any metrics that you think can be really misleading if you're not careful?
I would say reach is probably the number one because I guess there's a couple. Reach is number one, I would say, because reach is really calculating the potential number of people that may see a piece of content featuring your brand. But impressions are what are much more closely correlated to success because that is actually the number of people that have seen this content, the number of eyeballs. So, you could have 1 million followers, but you might have a horrible impression rate. People might not really look at your content. It might not get served to them because it's just not that engaging or for whatever reason. And so, you think you're casting this creator with 1 million followers, but really 10,000 people are seeing their content. So I think that one can be really misleading. I always try to negotiate off of cost per impression versus reach. And I think that helps a lot just to make sure you're really looking at like what impressions are these creators getting, like truly looking at their content. How many views are they getting? What are people interacting with? I also think conversion rate and click-through rate can be a little bit misleading. I think click-through rate is a really good indicator of a follower's interest.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that doesn't translate to conversion rate the first time around, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't. I actually think if you see a creator posting about your brand and they have really high intent metrics, their followers might just be sitting in the middle of the funnel. They might just not be primed to purchase yet, but they may need to just see your product a few more times, and then they actually will move down the funnel. So I think that could be a little bit tricky because if you were to see someone with a really high click-through, really low conversion, you might think, I don't know that I want to work with them again. But I do think oftentimes it can indicate that it's a really good fit. You just need to give their audience a little bit more time to become familiar with the brand and the products before actually purchasing.
I think that is a super good point that you bring up. A lot of times it does feel like sometimes there can be certain people within brands, leadership potentially, and I'm speaking exclusively from my own experience, that has an expectation that's unfair of the creators to be like, well, they didn't convert immediately. And when have you ever seen something on the internet that you're like, you know what, I'm going to see this once and I'm going to buy it right now? Literally never.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's fair. What is something people don't say out loud, but you think that they should?
Ooh. I think sometimes creators, and I love creators, but I do think sometimes they've gotten they can be a little bit entitled. I
Mm-hmm.
also think agents can be a little bit entitled. And I think like taking a step back and like grounding yourself in the data of like, why are you asking for this rate? Or why do you feel like you're like entitled to these different things can be helpful and good. I also am
Absolutely.
a big believer of like picking up the phone and talking to someone if there is ever any sort of conflict or disagreement or an issue with content, because I think oftentimes, and that's something I learned at Village in particular, like whenever we had an issue with an agent, it's like pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people like will actually just give you that you want because they don't actually want to speak to you on the phone because they're scared of talking on the phone.
So real.
And so if you offer to get on a phone call and put that offer out there, oftentimes people will just acquiesce to what you're trying to get. And other times if you do get on the phone call, typically it goes much better than it would have gone over email because you're just speaking to another person and you remember that you're both human and, deserve respect and all of that.
100%. And I always tell people, like, at the end of the day, like, we're not heart surgeons. Like,
Right.
we're not going in and operating and dropping hearts on the floor. Like,
Thank God.
be so for real about some of these things. So yeah, thank God. So that's also a huge point there. So up next for you is, who or what would you say has influenced your approach to work the most?
I think honestly, my parents both showed me like they're such hard workers, both of them. So I think they from a young age instilled in me the power of hard work and just how many doors can open. Like my dad always says, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Hmm.
So like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. That's definitely influenced like the way that I've approached my career and kind of helped me to get where I am today, I believe. And then honestly, I think just the different experiences that I've gathered along the way have really shaped how I think, and I've learned so much from the leaders that I've worked for. I think I've gotten so much more comfortable with like making data-driven decisions since starting my career, and I think there have been so many different like learning moments for me along the way where I've really understood kind of the power of tying data back to things, which is something that I might have been like scared or apprehensive about doing before, but now feel really confident in. And so I think it's almost like those compounding little lessons that have made the biggest impact on like the person that I am today and how I show up at work.
It brings up such a good point. Like you said, closed mouths do not get fed. You've got to go out there and you've got to ask for it, because otherwise you can't just assume that what you want or what you're doing is going to be given to you. So I think that's really good
Exactly.
advice. I think that's great advice. Last one for this section is, what is something you feel that you've had to unlearn as this space and the creator economy continues to evolve so quickly?
I'm almost like relearning about blogs.
Yeah.
And today they're Substacks. It's really interesting. I feel like that is an art that got lost along the way and was so big in like 2015 to 2020. And then we entered this era of TikTok and it was all about short form video, but they're really back. And I personally love reading Substacks. I love reading yours. I love reading different like shopping ones. And so I think it's honestly always keeping an open mind and also not paying attention to follower count. Like, I think it's really good to just continually remind myself of that. I think there are so many different creators who are amazing, who have really high followings that we work with and gift, but there are also incredible creators, like I said, popping up every single day. And it's just a good reminder to, be okay gifting them early, because sometimes the smaller creators do have such an organic relationship with their audience. So I think those are two of the things that come to mind. But I'm so happy that blogs and Substack are back.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you bring that up, because I was just having a conversation with a colleague who is in the editorial space, and we were talking about things that are appropriately hyped and overhyped, and things that are appropriately hyped are Substack and the blogs, and how we would much rather see a genuine product recommendation in a Substack that we trust versus something in like a giant listicle roundup.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a fair point moving forward for this space.
It's so true. And I feel like it just comes across as like so authentic, and you have that space to really storytell there. And there's no one editing it, there's no one who's like looking over making sure that you put XYZ product in there. So
Right.
I agree. It's definitely like a very valuable place to show up.
Okay, last we are going to move into the identity and ego section, because let's face it, we've all got one. How has working so closely with creators changed how you think about taste?
I think in a couple of ways. I think I love to follow creators who have like different style from me, or different tastes that kind of push me out of my comfort zone. I think you can really tell when creators are just mimicking what they're seeing everywhere. Like, I think the Carolyn Bessette, John F. Kennedy thing was so overplayed. I was sick of seeing it everywhere. I'm like, this is not original. It's also not your style. Like, stop wearing it.
Uh,
But I really value like a fresh perspective and a good recommendation. And I also love following people who mix high and low and aren't afraid to say like, I love this $300 sweater, but I also love this $20 lip liner, or whatever that may be. So I think those are a couple of ways. Like, I am definitely very picky on whose opinion I trust working in the space, because I see it, like I see the back end, but at the same time, I'm very easily influenced on something. So I feel like it changes day by day. I definitely need to see a recommendation from someone that I trust, though, in order for me to actually feel like it's genuine. And I really do love following a variety of different people. I know I said that, but like following, interiors accounts, like there are just so many different cool, like inspirational people out there. And it's one of the things that I feel like is the best about the creator economy, is there are so many different places to gather inspiration.
Yeah, it's almost like you're creating your Instagram to be like your personal magazine with people
Yes.
that you may not always like exactly the outfit that they're wearing, but it's inspiring you to do something else. And sidebar on your Carolyn Bessette Kennedy thing, this is hilarious because in the first episode that I ever recorded for this, one of the questions I asked myself was a trend that I'm dying to go away. And that's exactly what I said. Your boots on the ground in New York, so I'm
That's
sure
so
you saw
funny.
it more, but I'm like, she wore slacks.
No, literally.
Like, I say this all the time. You've obviously never cried in a Banana Republic dressing room because slacks do not need to be glamorized. Like,
It's so funny. It's also just like we're so quick to latch onto something these days. I'm like, it took like one episode being out in the world and it's like a madhouse. I also saw CO Bigelow, like everyone was like flocking there for the headbands.
no,
Like we don't need to bring back things that aren't really our style.
I'm obsessed with that. Yeah, no. In that same vein, I'm like, you having a mini Kelly does nothing for me in terms of you trying to tell me you have taste. If anything, this has
Exactly.
convinced me that you actually don't have any taste.
Exactly. I know. And it's so funny because it's like there is like a point of saturation with
Yes.
all of these things. And once you reach that, anything over that is like it's actually a turn off. Like I actually don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah. A
I've been
hundred.
de-influenced now.
It's so interesting. It's truly, things are so cool up until that point, like you said, the saturation point. And then after that, it's like, okay, and
Yeah.
so, all right, what part of your personality would you say makes you good at what you do, and what part makes it harder?
Ooh, I think I'm genuinely like outgoing and in some ways, but like I'm a people person. I love to be around people. I get my energy from others. So I think that makes it easy to do what I do because it makes me like want to meet creators, want to talk to agents, like the really like human facing part of the role comes very naturally to me. I think on the part that makes it hard, I would say sometimes I find it hard to, like, there are so many different parts of creator marketing and they're always shifting priorities every single day. And so it's hard to keep it all straight. And I feel like, I want to make sure I'm doing a good job in everything that I do. And some days are heavily weighted towards like one thing, and then some days are heavily weighted towards the next. And I feel like I can be a little bit ADD, which makes it hard to do what I do because it's not that structured.
Totally. Do you feel like you can still experience content as a normal person, or are you always analyzing everything that you see?
I'm definitely analyzing every single thing I see.
I figured you were going to say that.
I'm analyzing every single thing I see. It doesn't mean that I can't appreciate it or enjoy it,
Great.
but I am definitely analyzing the brand packaging, the
Yeah.
brand card, even just like, oh my God, this brand is launching something new. I didn't know that. Oh, what creators are they partnering with? Oh, all those different things. Like I go down little rabbit holes.
Especially too, if you see a post where because you're so close to it, and in a past life I was closer to it, when something is not titled as sponsored, but you're like, I feel
Oh my
in,
God.
in my core that this is sponsored. Like there's
Yeah, in
no,
my bones, I know you were paid for this. Like, are you seeing
yeah,
everything happening with Luna and Water right now?
I am shocked.
I'm so
Shocked.
confused, first of all. But like everyone is on their payroll, it seems. No one is disclosing. So, Lunan, if you see this, we love
Lunan,
to
we're
try your
on to
water.
you, and
We're on to you.
we're going to report you to the FTC, maybe. Maybe. Last question for you here, and then we'll move into the fun stuff is what do people misunderstand about performance marketing versus brand marketing? And like, what is the one message that you really want to like beat over the head for people to understand?
I think that they're all connected. You
Yes.
cannot have one without the other. And you also can't separate them truly. Like they're
Yeah.
so interconnected. I mean, even just thinking about like PR
Yeah.
these days, like it's all about like the commerce editors too. And so it's very interesting. And I think people are bridging the gap more and more. But I think for a long time, they were considered to be like two different things,
Yeah.
two different departments. They don't necessarily need to talk to each other. And I think the reality is that they are so symbiotic, and you really need strong brand marketing and strong brand messaging that's then repeated through creators and through affiliate partners and all of that to create this like amazing marketing campaign. I think that's the biggest misunderstanding I see is just the fact that you can have one without the other, or they don't need to like kind of be correlated.
Totally. Okay, this is the fun part. Do you have your South Side ready?
Yay, I have my south side ready.
Okay. So this segment is sip or spill. If you don't want to answer a question, you take a sip. So with that,
Yay.
I like to try to do like a crispy
Oh,
ASMR. Oh,
yeah, that was a good one.
we love that. We absolutely love that. Okay, cheers. First up for you, dream YouTube or show appearance.
Ooh. So I'm not a reality person,
Fair.
but for some reason that's like the first thing that comes to mind. What would I want to appear on? I think a cooking show could be really fun.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe like Ina Garten or Stanley Tucci.
Oh my God, could you
I think that's my
imagine
dream.
being in
Yeah,
Ina Garten's kitchen?
I'll go to the barn. That's my dream.
Absolutely. I know I recently was turned on to the YouTube slash Instagram Mythical Kitchen, and oh my gosh, it's so fascinating. It's like, hi, I'm so and so, so and so, and this is my last meal. And they make all of the food from the last
Oh,
meal, and then they sit down and they have a chat. And so between
sweet. I'm
you
so excited. I can't wait to watch this.
you absolutely need to add it to your list. Like, I rarely get hooked on content and shows like this because I've exhausted my attention span. And so definitely give it a look. But what's your most irrational, like, marketing opinion that you're just going to fully stand by? Like, what's the hill you're going to die on?
Ooh. I don't know. I might have to sip. I'm
Sip,
gonna sip with
girl.
that.
Sip. What is something brands are doing on TikTok right now that you think needs to stop immediately?
I hate the like very sponsored TikTok shop people.
Ugh.
They drive me insane. I might just call it the brand that I'm thinking of because, sorry, I adore their products. But Clean Skin Club, there's one woman that I get served her face, like her video, every other day on TikTok. And she's like holding up the towels and she's like, oh my God, someone made a mistake. These are 70% off. And it just grinds my gears like no other. Will I continue to purchase the products? Absolutely. I use one
Amazing.
every single day. But does the ad drive me insane? Also, yes.
Both can be true.
Yeah.
Both can be true. What's the most insane quote you've received from an influencer?
Oh, um, oh my gosh. I don't even know if I could like, I mean, we've definitely gotten some that were like in the hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars. I think the funniest one was I got back from an agent recently. She was like, you're missing a zero transparently. And I was like, okay.
T. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, sweet. Literally, she goes, transparently, you're missing a zero. That was all she said. I was like, that is the most savage way to say that, like, what we quoted or what we offered is not in line with her rates.
Calling you broke in 6 different languages. Oh,
I was like, okay.
great.
Oh, cool.
Look, like, happy for you that you've found a brand that will pay this insane down payment for a piece of content, but couldn't
When
be.
people quote me things that are in like the thousands of dollars for the CPM, I'm like, do you understand how we price things?
Right. At all.
And I'll sometimes share. I'll be like, just to give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, this is how we cost out content.
Which is fair because sometimes I feel like you can get people or agents or agencies that are like, okay, for this type of structure, we'd change the
Right.
pricing versus a flat, 500K. I can remember when at the very peak of COVID, when all of the dermatologists were kind of coming to fame on the apps. I'm like, well, first of all, you're already a dermatologist that owns their own practice. And so this is like easy gravy money for you. And you're asking me for 5 or 6 figures? I was like,
Yeah.
okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they've only gone up. And let me tell you, their engagement has gone down. The derms are not what they were in their heyday.
T, that's important. Honestly, I'm kind of glad. What is a brand or campaign that feels very internet famous, but not actually effective?
Ooh, I mean, I have no idea if it's effective or not. I feel like Skims does really good marketing though.
Absolutely.
They always do. Like they pick the person who's like on the rise, about to make it big, and they do really good campaigns. But I'm like, are people still buying Skims?
I'm exclusively buying their pajamas
Really?
until I figure out a 100%
Okay.
cotton alternative. So,
Okay. So Meredith Mills is buying Skims.
oh,
You heard it here first.
yeah, I am buying Skims, and I would love some 100% cotton recommendations though, so you know where to find me. Okay, so who or what gets hyped up? This is kind of in the same vein as the last question. Who or what gets hyped up that you just don't understand? It can either be within your industry since you're in beauty now, or on the whole.
Ooh. I mean, actually, I don't want to say that. I'll sip.
It is amazing. What is a trend that you think is screaming like this is going to age so poorly?
I think the like peel off lip stain liners are just so weird. Like you just can't look normal putting those on. I'm so sorry. And they're
No.
not practical because like you need to be so precise.
I honestly hope so because I am to your point. Like the first time I bought it, I was very generous with applying and it did not want to come off
No, it's spooky.
and it's a little spooky.
It's a little spooky. I also wonder about the longevity of like press-on nails. I don't personally use them.
Yeah, I don't really know. It feels like there's this funny like pendulum swing back to things that we were doing like
Yes.
early 2000s,
Yes.
like again, lip stain, press
Yes.
on nails. We're like
Yes.
we've seen this and we stopped for a reason. So why is
Right.
it coming back but like yassified? So
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. But what is something that you think both brands and creators are getting wrong right now?
Well, something that grinds my gears, this is like not exactly an answer to the question, but
It's
something that
bring
bothers
on.
me is when agents will respond on behalf of a creator with something that I know the creator actually doesn't think. We are sending out lab samples of one of our new products that's launching next month. And an agent responded to me and was like, this person's not accepting product without a paid partnership. But I'm like, she just accepted product from us last week and is posting a ton and driving volume. So it bothers me when agents speak for creators. I don't know if it's something creators are getting wrong, but I do know I've heard from multiple creators who have like taken back and started managing themselves again or want to be on CC when their management is managing their,
Right.
content, all of that, just because they want more visibility into like what they're saying no to. For example, you're missing a zero five-figure creator has, I'm sure, no idea that we even offered her something, which is
Absolutely.
fair. Like that's the agent's job. But at the same time, I do feel like sometimes if a creator loves a brand, they may be willing to be flexible on their rate and or flexible on receiving gifting, things like that. So that's always an interesting, I guess, nuance to me when
Yeah.
agents like just give such blanket statements around their talent that I feel like the talent actually wouldn't say or doesn't believe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I, to your point, have seen more and more in the, I would say, cultural dialogue that people are taking it back for themselves because
Right.
of various management issues. And I think that it is an older model. And even some of the newer, more independent agencies versus like a UTA or something don't necessarily nail it either. So
Yeah.
it's a very imperfect system. And to your point, I think if we were in those shoes, if we were the creator and you had these brands reach out, obviously there's going to be some things that aren't a perfect fit, but you want to see it still. You want to
Yeah.
evaluate all of your options, but maybe I'm getting that wrong again. Who knows? Okay, so in closing, we like to keep these questions the same for all of our guests. So give us your current sweet and sour, think rose and thorn in your personal life.
Ooh. Okay. Sweet is that I am getting married soon.
Yay!
So all of the fun celebrations to come with that are like especially really kicking off soon. So that's definitely sweet. Sour is that it is still cold in New York. It
Mm.
was 34 degrees yesterday, and today was a high of like 45. So I'm really over this and would love some like true spring weather.
I hope that spring is on the way for you. Next up, who is your dream, living or dead, happy hour guest?
I think Martha Stewart would be so great
I do too. She'd be so fun and like,
and funny. And I'm like, I want to know more about you. Like, she just seems like she's got like a good wit about her.
I agree.
So I think she would be really awesome.
I do.
Honestly, her and Snoop Dogg would be hysterical. I don't even really like Snoop Dogg or like I don't dislike him. I just don't really have any opinion on the matter. But I think them together would be so funny.
I do too. Plus, I mean, I'm so curious about all of their lives. So
Me
that's
too.
that's a great
I'm
one.
like, I want to learn more.
What is your favorite bar snack or cocktail menu hors d'oeuvre?
It might be oysters,
Mm,
which is like not really a bar snack, but it might be oysters.
that counts. I'm gonna count that. I feel like you
Yeah.
see that often on a cocktail menu, like, six
Yeah.
like oysters on
Yes.
the half shell. Like that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, totally acceptable. Okay,
Yeah.
finish this sentence. I am happiest when.
Ooh, I'm outside and it's like a warm day doing something. I'm not even particular about what I'm doing. Whether I'm like walking around, bopping with friends.
Just
I don't
outside.
know.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm like outside in the sun, or by the water,
fair.
or both.
Yeah, preferably both, but we'll take just
Yeah,
in
preferably
one
both.
when it's warm weather. Emma, thank you so much for coming on. I am so grateful. So, for those listening who want to learn more about you or connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
They can find me. My Instagram is Emma Wesel, and I am on LinkedIn under that same name. Thank you so much
Amazing.
for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah. Well, until next week, thanks for yapping, and we'll see you again soon.